You on, Teresa? There you go.
Yes.
I think we're ready to go. Okay. Call the meeting to order. This is the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals. It is Tuesday night, July 26, 2022, and we are at the Genoa Township Hall. And we have two agenda items tonight, and plus the election of officers. We have staff present, Susan Dorch and Paul Benson, and I will call the roll. Ms. Driscoll.
Here.
Ms. Yu.
Here.
Mr. Boone.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
And Mr. Carlson is here, was here, he is not here. Okay, all right. And Mr. Phillips is also absent. Just so all the applicants and people that are here know, as is the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. The policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for the orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson, me, may limit the repetitive debate. The first item on the agenda is the review and approval of the minutes from way back in January 25th of 2022, and I will entertain a motion to approve.
One comment.
Oh, go ahead.
First paragraph down at the bottom, it's missing 20, it says 202 instead of 2022.
Oh, it does. You see that, Paul?
Who's missing?
Yeah, there's a 2 missing on the bottom of the first page.
It says 202 instead of 2022.
Right.
Good eye, thank you, Dave. Anything else? I didn't see anything when I read through them the other day.
It's been so long ago.
I was gonna say, it's only been 6 months, so I don't know what the problem could be. Okay. Anything else?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any other revisions? No? All in favor? Aye? Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, then the motion carries. The minutes are approved. And we will go into our first public hearing at 7:03 p.m. And I will read the legal notice into the record. Jennifer Henley and Brian Weirling. Did I get anywhere close? Whirling, thank you. Requesting approval of a variance to allow a second accessory building on a lot of less than 1 acre at 6551 Oak Shadow Drive, Westville, Ohio, 43082, lot 1792 in the Northern Lake Subdivision, currently zoned Plan Residential, PRD, and this is BZA case 2022-03. Those of you that wish to speak and testify in this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. For the record, I note that the legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on July 9th, 2022 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on July 8th, 2022. An attempt to mail notice of the hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made, and that is included in Exhibits A through D. And at this time, we will have the staff report.
Thank you, Mark. So, as you noted in the legal notice, the subject property address is 6551 Oak Shadow Drive, and it is approximately .26 acre lot, and it is zoned planned residential district. And the house that's on the property was built in 1993, and then in 1994, the zoning department issued another permit for construction of a deck. And in 2009, another zoning permit was issued for the installation of a fence, and that no additional zoning permits were found. On June 1st, 2022, the Development and Zoning Department received a residential improvement application for the construction of a covered pavilion on the subject property. On June 3rd, a letter was mailed to the property owners informing them that a zoning permit cannot be issued since Article 16, Section 1609.01C only allows for one accessory building on a lot of less than 1 acre. The application and the review fee were returned to the applicant with that letter. And then on June 9th, 2022, staff received the variance application for a second accessory building on the property, and that would be the application we're hearing tonight.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
applicant did not provide the size of the lot on the application. But the lot is a corner lot, and it's slightly irregular shaped. And the lot's approximately 105 feet by 136 feet, or approximately 14,340 square feet, which is well below the 43,560 square feet for an acre. In response to Duncan Middlefield, question number 6, the applicant stated that they were told by the zoning office that the only way that a closed roof structure could be added is through a variance. There is currently a small shed in the back of the property, but our notification letter that was dated June 3rd listed 2 options, and they could apply for the variance, or they had the option of removing the existing accessory building at the back of the property, and then they would be permitted to build the new structure. Article 4 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution defines a building as a structure having a roof supported by poles, columns, or walls. And the structure that they're proposing is like a covered pavilion. It doesn't have walls, but it still fits our definition of a building. A copy of the variance application was provided to police, fire, and maintenance departments, and we did not receive any comments or concerns. Then the legal notice was mailed to the adjacent property owners on July 7th. The legal notice was published in the Delaware Gazette on July 9th, and a notification sign was placed on the property on July 13th. Staff is not aware of any when calling in and asking questions about this variance.
Okay, I have a couple of quick questions, and then you guys can hop in. The existing shed did not require a permit, is that correct?
Possibly. I'm not quite sure when it was installed,
Depends
so
on how long ago was that?
Hmm?
How long ago was that built?
I don't have the answer to that.
Okay,
They might be able to
so
tell you.
they may or may not have been required to get a permit. Is it a setback issue more than whether or not it's a shed, or whether that it's a shed which we consider an accessory building? Or is it all of the above?
Well, the one that they're proposing now is up close to their house and on the deck.
Right, I understand.
The existing one is back towards the corner of the lot.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, it appears to be it's in a compliant location.
Is it in,
and all.
okay, that's
And at
really
one
what I
point in
was
time,
getting to.
depending on the size, permits were not required, so it
Okay.
could be possible.
So
that it
depending on
didn't.
when it was constructed, it may or may not have required
Correct.
a permit. Gotcha, okay. And so, as far as we know, the shed itself was legal conforming, may or may not have required a permit.
Correct.
Is that safe to assume? Okay.
Correct.
All
I
right.
did not look to, like, for a size or something for that.
Okay. Let's see, all right. And then, did I see that the homeowners associate, or I guess I'll ask the applicant about that?
They did include that in their application.
Yeah, I thought I saw that. Okay, then I think we're ready for the applicant. And you can sit or stand, whichever you're most comfortable with. You won't be the first. Okay, if you just, we're going to ask you to present the application. If you want to kind of run through your application quickly, you heard what staff did with their report. If you want to go ahead and run through it quickly, and then we may have questions.
My name is Brandon Whirling. This is my wife, Jennifer Henley. We're at 6551 Oak Shadow Drive in Westerville. It's the Northern Lakes Subdivision. It's zoned residential. We initially had requested a permit to put a 12 by 12 cedar constructed outdoor structure to provide just cover over the back patio area. And in that process, we were told that because there was a secondary accessory building of approximately 10 by 10.
I was going to say, that little 10 by 10 shed.
It's a 10 by 10
ranch.
shed.
Yes.
Correct. It is. It's towards the back of the property.
Northeast side, I think?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The northeast corner, under a tree and away from the fenced area of the property.
Okay.
That accessory building, as noted, it was, our application was denied because there is that's considered a building there. And when we submitted, I had read the ordinance thinking no walls on the proposed structure, not considering it a building.
Right.
In that fashion.
You're
So,
not the first that have come in on that.
and
In fact, our January minutes have one.
and my thought process in that, it was also relayed that the possibility could be that a pergola is not considered an accessory building because it is not a covered roof. Is that correct?
Oh, don't ask me. That's a staff question.
Sure, and because you start getting into questions that I have is now you have pergolas where the slats can now close and now you have a covered structure. So it becomes a matter of semantics, is what I
Totally understand where you're going.
But the intent is to allow us to enjoy that portion of our property for longer portions of the year, protection from the sun or the rain. Do a lot of grilling in our backyard, so that's the purpose of it. There's never, honestly, was not ever an intent to put any walls or be part of our structure.
Of course.
Just a secondary structure to enjoy the outdoors. From that, after being denied, as noted, we were told that we could request a variance, which is why we're here today. And it's we've made all of the notifications asked. We feel that it's a structure in its construction and its materials that will add value to the property, as well as making that space usable for longer periods of time. Not blocking views of neighbors. You're able to see through and actually along Hillmar, There are numerous trees that actually block any view from beyond our property to Hillmar Drive. So it's a pass-through there that we did not see, you know, any issues with that as far as blocking that off. The 10-by-10 shed that is in the back of the property is used for one of the homes that don't have the luxury of a 3-car garage. That shed is where some of those snow blower and things of that nature have been stored since it's there. But from that standpoint, again, not thinking that the structure was considered a building is where that runs.
I totally understand. They're a little, and I live kind of close to you, a little farther across Maxtown. Those sheds are slightly atypical while they're allowed. Like in my neighborhood, we don't have a whole lot of them. In fact, I don't think we may not have any because our CCNRs don't allow it. And I assume your CCNRs do allow a shed and I know, okay, they do allow a shed, okay.
Yeah. And the structure itself, as we were going through it, it's a, I lost my train of thought as to where I was going to go with that, but it is being considered a property improvement as opposed to something that I'm not planning on storing old vehicles or anything in it. It's
I totally understand. Okay, and I see your plan. You're going to go over an existing deck, I understand, or you're building a deck.
patio. There's a patio.
Oh, over existing patio, okay. Okay. 12 by 12, open, roofed, okay. I think that's all I've got. You guys have any?
Now, that was my biggest question, was I saw the bolted plates on the bottom of the posts, and I was wondering what you were bolting into. So you're drilling in the concrete.
Concrete pad, correct.
The deck had to come off because it had aged.
Okay.
There are portions of the deck that were removed. This is
So it's well secured.
So it is now a concrete slab.
Yeah.
Now, did you
Oh,
pour,
so
did you pour
build the
it?
deck over the slab?
We did not personally pour it, no.
Also, the
It was high.
slab was there and, okay.
Yeah,
You
mine's
built
the
a deck,
same
they
way.
built a deck over top of it.
Yeah,
Got it.
that's pretty typical. Dorothy, anything? No? And I know I asked you this once.
Yes.
The homeowners association did approve the,
correct, and I believe it was part of the information.
That's what I thought.
Provided.
I just didn't want to ferret.
Correct.
look
They were
for it.
actually my first, they were the first step before bringing it to the
Okay.
township for, I
Okay.
figured if they weren't going to approve, there was no sense in applying.
You're
for a
absolutely
permit.
right, and a lot of times, well, I shouldn't say
It
a lot,
works in
but we do
reverse.
get homeowners here that want us to approve it before the HOA does.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to do is approve, vote yes on something the HOA doesn't want to have anything to do with. So I appreciate that you've gone through that. Teresa, anything? No? Paul, anything? No? Ah, you guys are
Right.
easy tonight, huh?
So
Give you
you're-
some time off. Okay, well, does anybody want to go through Duncan versus Middlefield then? I'll take a crack. Thank you, sir.
The board reviews section 307.06 of the zoning resolution reflecting Duncan B. Middlefield as it pertains to the variance requested from section 1609.01.c to allow for a second accessory building on a lot of less than 1 acre in a planned residential zoning district as follows.
Hold on 1
Do
second.
we have to do public comment?
I just remembered.
Let him finish the paragraph.
There's a little bit of retraining that has to go on here, apparently. Does
Why
anyone?
do we have the script?
Yeah, well, I don't, yeah. Does any member of the public that was sworn in wish to speak regarding this application? Sir, come on up to the podium, name and address, and make your comment.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Sure.
John Moore, 6554 Oak Shadow Drive, right across the street from Jennifer and Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
They've been my neighbors for 6 years. They're the best neighbors I've ever had. The neighborhood was not a friendly one before they moved in. and then this gentleman and his family moved also. And it feels like a neighborhood now. Jennifer and Brandon have been improving the property ever since they moved in. And it's very well cared for always. They are people of their word. If you're concerned or if there were concerns about them walling in this structure, putting a roof on it, whatever, they say they're not going to, and they will not. And of course, if they sell the property, they can't be responsible for what
Of course.
someone else might do. So I'm very much in support of this. I think it will, as Brandon said, add to the value of the neighborhood. It won't in any way take anything away from the value.
Great.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Name and address.
Good evening, Arun Chatur, 6569 Oak Shadow Drive. We're the next door neighbors just to the east. So I guess
okay.
that's lot 793, if I'm reading that correctly. Maybe not, to the right, according to that diagram. My wife and I have lived in 5 states, bought and sold 4 different houses. And Brandon and Jen are the best neighbors we've ever had as well. So we moved in 4 years ago, last month, in fact, in 2018. We now have 2 young children who play over in their yard quite often, probably more often than they would like. We've seen them do a lot of work to the interior of the house, keeping it up, maintaining it, improving the interior best they can, making improvements and keeping everything in good order on the exterior. And really being a central point of gathering for everybody around the neighborhood. So everyone that I know, at least, that knows them, loves to hang out with them, meet their kids, meet them, and talk with them. I think ultimately, in terms of the variance question, if the HOA has already said yes, based on their guidelines for what the property looks like and keeping property values up, and if our public safety officials in particular have said they don't have any concerns from a safety standpoint on behalf of the homeowner, I don't see any reason not to approve the variance. We think the house already looks great, but certainly to have a covered space in a part of the country that gets its fair share of rain would certainly do the neighbors a whole lot of good, and it's only going to add value to their house and ours.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Sounds like you've got some pretty good neighbors there.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're a good neighbor.
Might have to move. Okay, I'm sorry, Paul.
All right. Do I need
Carry
to
on.
reread the first paragraph again? Now just go into the questions?
Yeah, you can just go
All right.
go right to the questions, thanks.
The property in question would yield a reasonable return, and there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. Because this is an accessory building, so the property may still be utilized as a primary residence. The variance is substantial because the request is to double the number of accessory structures allowed on the property. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance because the structure is hidden behind the main dwelling on the property and out of view. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services, again, because it is in the rear of the property and outside of any easements. Property owner did purchase the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction because the board considers the zoning code public information. Property owner's predicament cannot be feasibly obviated by a method other than a variance because a variance is the only way to preserve the existing accessory structure, the shed, while adding a permanent shaded recreation area. The spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance because the additional accessory structure would enhance the look of the property, and the public has commented favorably on the application.
Okay, good. All right, should we go into, should we go into discussion quickly, or should we just, or does somebody want to make a motion? I'm kind of open to suggestion. All right, well,
Let's make a motion.
all right, somebody want to make a motion?
Okay. Motion, move to incorporate exhibits A through D as well as board findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Geneva Township zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the requested variance from section 1609.01C of the Geneva Township zoning resolution for BZA 2022-03, application received on June 9th, 2022, to allow for a second accessory building for a lot of less than 1 acre on the property known as 1792 in Northern Lake Subdivision, 6551 Oak Shadow Drive, Westville, Ohio, 43082, zone planned residential, PRD. The motion is based on the following findings of facts pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. Such variance or modifications will not be contrary to the public interest because they're not substantial, owing a special condition of literally enforcement of the zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship because really isn't a hardship, but it isn't going to cause one either. That the approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution and the substantial justice shall be done thereby because of, I think, increased value to the home, and certainly people in the neighborhood are very supportive and will be pleased to see this done. Approval of the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions. Incorporate any the board's wishes to apply. All required permits, zoning, and otherwise will be obtained. Pursuant to section 307.11 of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions, the approved variance shall lapse, expire, and be null and void if the required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of this motion of approval. Extensions to the variance may be requested pursuant to sections 307.11.A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions may be amended. The Board of Zoning Approvals does grant the Genoa Township Inspector authority to extend this variance at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within section 307.11.A of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions as may amended.
Thanks for doing the heavy lifting there. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. I think I'd like to just point out that what they're proposing to build conforms to the other properties around it. The HOA agrees because they've already approved it. And the shed, for me, becomes kind of a minor issue. A 10 by 10 shed really becomes a minor issue, in this, especially in this case. It's back in the corner, it's under some trees. It's barely visible. And I can't imagine, and I think the structure they're proposing really does conform to the remainder of the neighborhood. And I think it's a good improvement for the neighborhood. I'd like to have one myself. Anyway, on that note, any other discussion? Anyone? Okey doke, I guess we'll call the roll. Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Ms. Driscoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes?
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries. Enjoy your patio.
Absolutely.
Give us a ring when the pool goes in.
We're coming.
You don't know know what kind of grief that would cause in my house. Oh, Okay, and on that note, at 7:29, the meeting, or that hearing is adjourned. And we will go into the second public hearing, which is a conditional use permit. And we're calling that meeting to order at 7:30. And I will read the legal notice into the record. Shayla and James E. McGuire Jr. requesting approval of a conditional use to construct an accessory building at 5701 Sunbury Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082. Currently zoned rural residential, RR, and this is BZA 2023-04. Those that wish to testify in this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. Be seated. And the legal notice for this hearing was posted and published July 9th, 2022 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on July 8th, 2022. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. The following are marked as exhibits A through D: the legal notice, sign-in sheet, application, and staff report dated July 18th, 2022. And on that note, we'll start with the staff report.
Thank you, Mark. So the application, I think the application form listed the property as 5701 Sunbury Road, but it actually encompasses two properties, which is 5701 and the property to the north, which is 5687 Sunbury Road. Both of those properties are owned by the McGuires, and together, they total 4.38 acres. It's in a rural residential zoning district. So the existing house at 5701 Sunbury Road was built in 1998. According to the Delaware County Auditor's site, that property was purchased by the McGuires in 2008. Additions to the residence were added in 2011, and then no other zoning permits were found. According to the Delaware County Auditor's site, the property to the north, the 5687 Sunbury Road, was purchased by the McGuires in 2020, and the previous existing residence and accessory building have been demolished. Staff was contacted by the property owner's landscape architect, James Burkert. Prior to the submission of this conditional use application, staff and Mr. Burkhardt discussed the proposed plans and the options available for moving forward with the project as proposed. On July 1st, 2022, the application for the conditional use was submitted for approval of an accessory dwelling. So the code does now allow for an accessory dwelling on a property, and there's certain conditions. It's allowed as a conditional use, and there's conditions that it have to meet that are listed in the zoning resolution, and the applicant did address all of those in their application as the lots, as if they were combined. So it is staff's understanding that the process to combine the two parcels into one parcel is currently underway, but is not complete. The parcels have not been legally combined into one parcel at this time, and it's staff's opinion that the request for the conditional use cannot be granted because the principal residence and the accessory dwelling must be on the same parcel. By definition, an accessory use building structure is incidental and subordinate to the principal building structure or use which it serves, and it is located on the same zoning lot.
Well, let's just, hang on a second.
So can I keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
We're circling back to D, though.
Okay, so staff had contacted the property owner's representative, Kevin Knight, on July 18th to make him aware that staff thought that the conditional use could not be approved if the lots had not been combined into one lot. And yesterday, staff received a phone call from Mr. Burkhardt, the landscape architect, and he stated that the process for completing the combining of the parcels, that they had, the stamp had been received, and they just needed to have it recorded. But it's staff's understanding that the process also has to go through Delaware County Regional Planning. So after speaking to Mr. Burkhardt, we contacted Scott Sanders, who's the Director of Regional Planning, and asked if they had already approved the combining of the lots. And Mr. Sanders stated that someone had called and he had explained the process to them, but he had not received an application. And he stated that the map room may have stamped the survey, and that could be recorded, but that wasn't the formal approval of the lots being combined. It did have to go through regional planning. And I gave you copies of emails, the email that I had sent to Mr. Sanders, the one that he responded to, and then a subsequent one that we sent to notify the applicants that of the information Mr. Sanders had given us. So a copy of the application was submitted to police, fire, and maintenance. They did not have concerns or comments. And the legal notices were mailed to the adjacent property owners, was published in the Delaware Gazette, and we did place a notification sign on the property. To date, after the staff memo was sent out, we did receive 2 inquiries about the application. Both were directed to the website to review the application, and neither one had any concerns. I think when the applicants represented, or the property owners' representatives are doing their presentation, they can update you on the status of the properties being combined.
All right, let's hear from the applicant then.
Good evening. I'm Jim Burkhardt. I'm the landscape architect. I'm a Genoa Township resident, 5737 Lake Forest Way. I have with me Kevin Knight, who will be the builder, and Jay Miller with V3 Surveying, who actually put all the documentation together. It's a tough process trying to get something which we think was pretty simple through, but as of this afternoon, Mr. Michael Smith, who is an attorney with Carlisle, Patchen, and Murphy, submitted the deed. It was accepted. It will be posted tomorrow, and we also submitted to the regional planning director the application to have the plat vacated. We have no idea, not even the survey, why that needs to be done. He owns the property, but in any event, the deed is there, the lots have been combined, and we would just need to wait how long it takes for the county to, in fact, officially vacate the plat. So I think we've done what we need to do. I'm hoping that you understand that, you know, there may be a little timing issue here, but I believe we meet the guidelines established by Genoa Township. Obviously, if you need to have anything special, we will certainly abide by it. We're trying to obviously get this approved so that construction can begin here shortly, so.
I understand. I absolutely understand what you're saying.
Right.
I guess the really issue becomes, at least for me, and I
Mhm.
put it out to the, I'm just one guy here, is that the code says it needs to be completed. And today,
It-
while we're close, we're not completed. And that's where, I mean,
Oh, I understand.
So basically, what he's saying is the meeting right now supersedes
Right.
the code and the date of when it was approved by. So right now, we're sitting with something that's unapproved prior to having our meeting.
I understand where you're coming from, and I used to be the vice chairman of the Board of Zoning and Planning in Upper Arlington for 8 years, as a matter of fact. And, there are situations where we're in this approval process that I believe that you would have the right to simply say it's approved based upon this document being provided with X amount of days. It has been recorded, our attorney said so, and it will be posted. It's posted, but it won't be officially posted on the website until tomorrow. So,
Does anyone know the process for getting it? I mean, do they have a hearing? Do you have to be present? Are there conditions where they would say no?
no, it is legally filed in terms of the deed to combine the two lots. The only issue is, and we still don't understand why, is we're gonna vacate the plat, but it's his property to begin with. We don't, the surveyor, none of us understand why that needs to be completed, but the form has been addressed. I think our survey can address that unfortunately that's kind of a just lengthy process to get all the paperwork done, but it's just kind of a moot point. It'll be done. It's not.
Well, it's not moot, because
Yeah.
you can't really prove it till
Well.
it's done. I mean, hardly call it moot.
Okay, sorry.
And the county has clearly made this a requirement, so I don't, yeah.
What's the stipulation if we postponed until next month and push the meeting?
Well, that's what I mean, do we know that it'll take less than a month? I mean, do we know what
No, I'm saying
the
our
county's, no, I know, but do we know what the county's process is? So, yeah, no, okay, no, yeah, that's,
I'm not, they have a meeting.
come to the
Yeah,
podium
go
if
ahead.
you don't mind.
yeah, that's great, yeah.
Sorry, Jay Miller.
Yeah.
They have a meeting once a month as well.
Okay.
Now, the problem is, depending on the timing, and I should have checked before I opened my big mouth, this could be a 2-month delay, right? If their meeting is after yours or whatever, I'm sure at this point, he owns both the lots, we're vacating the plat. I gotta believe that it's a technicality at this point that vacation of the plat. But I can't say anything for certain. But
And therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, you still have to have all that paperwork done before you can start doing anything, correct?
well, it's done. Like, on our end, it's done. Now we're waiting for, now it has to be, they publish, regional planning publishes.
Right, but you have to
and
wait
then-
for that to all come back before you can start anything. So
No, right.
postponing this meeting is no skin off anybody's teeth if that's going out another month also. We'd still have
Depending
to-
on the
you'd still have to
timing of the
wait.
meetings,
Right.
if their meeting
Yeah, it could be
is-
next week.
Yeah,
I
then
understand.
we might have to wait until,
I understand. Yep.
September. Do you know the dates?
I have a question. No.
Yes.
I don't know the regional planning's process. Do you know, does it have to go through a regional planning meeting, or is it administrative?
I believe, I don't know for sure, but I believe it has to be heard at a meeting. Yeah,
It's okay.
I'm Kevin Knight, the contractor, I hope, if you guys approve.
I think you've been here before, Kevin.
Could be. I Michael Smith, the attorney at Carlisle Patch, had said, we've caught a break. We called the recorder today. They let us know that we can walk the deed through, and that's their plan. They did it today. It's going to be posted on their website as of tomorrow. I'm just reading his email. And what it does is, I got a client that wants to get started and wants to start yesterday, and it's, you know how it goes in the building business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody that comes
So
through the door.
we
is like that.
naively thought, approved, contingent upon, whatever. But if that's not the case, that's not the case, so. It could be a month, I don't know what it takes, but Delaware County.
I don't either.
Franklin County, you walk in and here's it done, and but Delaware County's a different world.
Sure, I understand, and I think that is a result of the massive amount of building that's been going on.
Right, I understand.
You know, I understand they're probably pretty busy these days.
You think?
I know. Okay, so, what do you think? Somebody, if you're inclined, make a motion then. Delay or proceed? I think we're there. I think we either make the decision to delay.
Postpone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not comfortable making this contingent
And
upon
I'm not saying one
what
thing.
is legally required. This is like,
Right.
it's.
When I see that staff says it needs to be in place for us to approve the
Right.
conditional
So
use.
Staff suggests that you don't approve until the lots are combined.
I
So you can't, our issue is, he can't build an accessory dwelling on a separate lot, so they have to be legally combined. And I think one of the things is that the lot where the existing house is part of a platted subdivision, and then the lot to the north is not. So because it's part of a plat, then there's a different process. It's a little different if they were both just lots that weren't part of a plat.
Yeah, makes sense.
But that's where there's that little glitch, is that the one is in a platted subdivision, Pleasant, it's like Pleasant Acres or something, and the other one is not.
So if they were part of the same subdivision, we would just, and they weren't combined, we might be looking at a building that isn't set back.
I don't know what regional planning's process is. It still may have to go through a process, even if they were. I know if they weren't in a platted subdivision, it's a much easier process.
And the other thing is, if we approve it, can the township even legally issue that permit, even if we did approve it?
No, we would not issue the permit because
so-
we would assume that it would be contingent on them getting it.
Okay.
That's up to you.
And then originally, we were thinking we would have a variance because we were closer to the property line. And then Susan and I guess someone else with the township suggested that we do this. If you combine it, then the setback is less. I mean, realistically, as large as that property is, as you can see, all around it is in fact Hoover Reservoir. You can't even see the property right now. I mean, do we just turn tail here and simply say, can we build that with a variance? And give us the variance for the setback of 12 feet instead of 25 feet?
On one lot versus?
No, we don't need to have them combined if we're just going for a variance. Is
Yes,
that
you
true?
do, because
Do?
the height restriction, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, isn't it a
You
height
would have,
restriction?
you would have to withdraw this application.
They should
You
do
have
it
to
again.
resubmit another
Yeah.
application. You can't change
Okay,
your
well,
conditional use application.
I
into a
tried.
variance application.
What is the height, overall height of the building?
It's
25 feet?
Doubt whether it's 25 feet, but we can look. Could be. Well, there it is
I
right
looked
there.
at the pergola, and the pergola was 10 feet long.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, I don't know that it's much of a consideration at this point because that's a formal application to do a variance, so.
So what we need to do is, sounds to me like we need to table it until next month and hopefully have,
Well, there's no motion yet, so.
okay.
Well, he wants to ask,
Of course.
you're asking to continue, correct? Don't,
Oh, is
you
that,
don't-
Yeah.
okay.
You don't want to ask to table
Okay.
because that's like indefinite. You want to
Oh, so you want to
continue
continue with
to
the
a
next one.
specific date.
Continue, yes.
That's what you're asking us to do.
Right, right. We
Okay.
used to table it and then
I
we'd bring it up
understand.
the
It's
next month to just
semantics.
do it a little different here.
Sure.
so.
It's all
Excuse me.
semantics.
It's
Right.
semantics.
Okay,
So, yeah, and if somebody wants to make a motion to accept the, here, in fact, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to continue this application to our next regular meeting, which is August, help me, 28th, I think.
23rd.
3rd, okay. I figured it was in August.
23rd.
And for consideration of the application in front of us, once the property has been combined completely, hopefully the process will be finished by then. And we have a second. Okay, anything else, discussion?
No, and I mean, I would even accept if they, you know, if even if it's not done, if we knew the exact next steps and if there's a timeline kind of thing, I mean.
Okay, if that,
Yeah.
you know,
we'll communicate this.
I was gonna
with-
say, in the meantime, if you guys do get a timeline, that we know a date certain, I think that is not knowing a date certain when this can be finished or not. And because of the way that we've been advised, and we're homeowners just like you are, we're not lawyers. But, you know, we need to be shooting at a fixed, not a moving target. And I think that's fair for everybody because I'm not comfortable with considering approving an application where I'm dependent on a third party for it really to happen. And I think that's maybe everybody is in the same condition. So on that note, then I will call the roll. Ms. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Miss you? And the chair votes yes. So we'll see you next month. Hopefully you'll be all finished and we'll go through the process. And I appreciate you guys, your patience and understanding where we're coming
Any
from.
other concerns at this point that we should deal with?
Not that I have,
I mean,
no.
everything
No, and
looks-
you know,
looks
I have no
fine,
issues
it's
with
just
the
that.
actual application,
Right,
just
and, right, exactly, and it's more of a staff communication than with us, but, I am perfectly comfortable with once your process is complete, to consider the application. Okay?
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Second that.
Dorothy? Okay. And I've lost my script again. Okay, and the hearing is concluded at 7:57. We have one other piece of business, and that is election of officers. So, we can open the nomination for chair for the season of 2022, 2023, which is half over. Not everybody at once.
I make a motion that we reinstate Mark as chair.
Second.
There you go.
Any other nominations? I'm not trying to speed through this, but I'm, you know, I'll do whatever you guys want to do. Teresa seconds. Any discussion? And you can talk about me while I'm in the room. My parents used to do it regularly. My wife still does it. Okay, no other discussion? You guys got really quiet there.
I think Mark does a fine job.
Yeah, I was catching up on the notes from the last.
does an excellent job.
All right, if you guys are ready, I'll call the roll. Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Ms. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
And I will abstain.
You're nominated.
Okay, Vice Chair nominations. I'd like to nominate Mr. Boone for Vice Chair.
I'll second that.
Okay, and any discussion? Okay, all right, not everybody at once. All right, then I am going to call a roll. Mr. Boone,
Abstain.
Ms. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Ms. Yu,
Yes.
chair votes yes. And I know we kind of went off script a little bit, but
You just vacated the nomination part and went directly to the,
I know.
yep, that's fine.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if we had multiples, then,
That's fine.
you know.
Yep, you're good.
Hardly a contested election.
Yeah, when we start throwing down, then we'll go by the script.
Money on the table.
Okay. Any other business? Anything else? If nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Do we adjourn?
And, okay, Mr. Hanson, second by Ms. Driscoll. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, and we are adjourned.